Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tradesmen Experience. This is the podcast built by tradesmen for tradesmen, where we discuss business, culture, leadership, and the mindset it takes to build a business and life you're proud of. My name is Josh. Let's get into it and let's get shit done. But no, it's funny. I was recording a podcast and I hit stop on mine to jump over to here because I had a guy email me or send me a message on Instagram about upselling. And he's like, I'm having trouble getting my technicians to upsell. And I'm like, oh, I've been so deep on both sides of this. Like I will do an entire podcast episode on that, because for me, at the end of the day, the core value of your service has to revolve around creating the best experience for the client. Mm-hmm. And we have a motto in our new company, our HVAC company. We have a motto, and everybody believes it. Nobody cares more than we do. Mm. So that drives every decision that we make when it comes to our customers. And when I'm standing in front of a customer and they're, we get to talking about the business, they're asking about me, I always deflect and like turn it on to the team, of course, because everybody loves Sophie and the answering the phone and all that stuff. And I tell them that, and I say, Kevin, there's a lot of different HVAC companies that you can call. I appreciate that you called us. The one thing I will tell you about our company is no one cares more than we. And because it's genuine and authentic and it's the truth, the customer latches onto that with so much emotion and trust. Yeah. They're happy, not only that we're there, but they're happy to pay us money to be there. Right. And it's like when people we had a guy, he was so excited to write me a $27,000 check. He couldn't be happier. Yeah. Like, he didn't care about the money. He cared about somebody solving his problem, and he couldn't find a company to do it. We could not only solve his problem, but we cared that we could solve his problem. And then I ran into him, I don't know, probably a month later. And he looked at me and he said, that thing is perfect. It's always the same temperature in my house. I never hear it run, and I never have to touch the thermostat. You guys killed it.
That's awesome. So how do you get your salespeople and your team to care that much? Because I feel like even with my business, I had a problem getting guys to care about what they did. Some guys got it. But I felt like I had to get it. It was like pushing a rope. How do you get your team to care about your customers the way that you do? Because I understand you get it, and most business owners out there do get it. But how do you convey that downstream to your team?
I only hire people that care. And that's a very fortune cookie response. In my interview process, which is in the very first interview, I dump a lot on these people because I try to scare them away. I tell them in the first interview, most people believe that my standards and expectations are unreasonable, and I need you to understand that. The second thing I tell them is everything that we do here revolves around creating the best experience for our customer. I would rather you take twice as long to do it right as us have to do it twice because you did it wrong. So the interview process for me, I fucking hammer them with our expectations, our standards, the quality, our culture, what the customer experience. Like, you don't get hired and then come into our company and then we start talking to you about how we treat our customers. I beat you to death with it in the interview process.
Yeah.
And if you don't care, we're not the right fit for you. If you can't sit in front of Mrs. Jones and explain to her with honesty and transparency, not only what her problem is, but what the best options are for her to solve this and how much it's going to be, and you have full faith in what you're doing, you don't belong here. So and everybody that we have in our company right now has went through that interview process, believes that just as much as I do. And every action and decision that they make reflects that.
Yeah. So how do you, quantifying if somebody cares or not is how do you quantify that? Because that's more of like a feeling thing.
It's intuitive.
Yeah. So it's completely intuitive. There's no like, how do you like? Give me some examples of like questions that you ask them as to whether they care or not.
I probably don't ask enough questions. I just tell them what I expect.
Okay.
Honestly, because at the end of the day, if we're not a good fit for them and what they believe and what they want to do, save us both the trouble. And I tell people that in the interview. Like if you don't think that you can meet these expectations and you don't want to take care of the customer, then you don't belong here. But I will tell you that if you want a support system and you want leadership and you want opportunity, this is the right place for you. But these are the things that you have to meet. But to quantify it, I think I always come up with this memory. I worked for a company, and I think this happens at a lot of companies, but I remember experiencing it. And what I call the EFI, the executive first impression, the coordinator, secretary, dispatcher, whatever position you want to give it, they'll be on the phone and they're top shelf on the phone. Professional, polite, courteous, what they can do. And as soon as I hang the phone up, God, I fucking hate that bitch. I don't even know why that is quantifiable to me.
Sure.
Because what that tells me is that you're fake. You're putting on a face because you have to for your position. You genuinely don't give a shit. But if you get off the phone and you come to my office and go, hey, can I talk to you about Mrs. Smith? That's quantifiable to me.
Yeah.
So with the technicians or with guys in the field, if they're like, I don't know why we have to keep doing this, or they're complaining about the customers constantly, or complaining about the work constantly, or complaining about the expectations constantly, they're never going to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to me, that action is quantifiable.
Yeah. And you can't teach somebody to get it. They just have to get it.
They just have to get it. You just have to be a good person.
Yeah.
And being a good person and understand that you're going to be put in bad situations.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, I don't care what industry you're in. This is something that frustrates me too, right? Is you always look across the river to the other industries and they're like, they've got it good. How many times I'd be driving in my service van when I was young, and I'd drive past a new construction and look at the construction workers. And I'm like, God, they've got it made. They've got it made. They don't know what it's like to have to get up at 1 a.m. and crawl in a shitty crawl space. And well, I've done construction. I've worked on residential projects and commercial projects. And guess what? I went back to a service van because I'm like, this is fucking terrible. This is so hard. I went to work for an electrician too, one time. And I'm like, I was thinking about switching industries. Like, okay, electrical. Back then, a lot of people from the HVAC industry switched to electrical because we're given very, very strong background in electrical training and troubleshooting and understanding. And back then, the electricians they made so much more money than we did. We were kind of the bastard poverty industry. We really were. It's not like that anymore. And I'm super happy that I get to see it. I worked for them for a summer and I was like, this is fucking terrible. I never want to rewire another house ever again. Put me back in a service truck and let me do my thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, the grass isn't always greener, over there. The work's hard.
It's funny because when people say that, they come to me and they're like, oh, I'm thinking about being an electrician. And like instantly in my mind, I'm like, that's a great idea. You should do it. You barely get dirty. It's easy on your body. You charge like 50% more than what I do in welding. Like, that's a great idea. And then I'm like, man, maybe I should get in electric. I'm like, no, that sucks. I don't want to do that. That's not who I am. Like, no, I freaking like the welding. Like, they have the same problems. It's just different than mine. You know what I mean?
That's it.
And yes, they charge more because they have more overhead because they have to pay for somebody to answer the calls while they're, like it's no different than my industry. Than the welding and fabrication. It's just different problems.
It's different problems. And the work is hard, right? That's why I said you're always going to experience bad situations or difficult situations, hard jobs, because I everybody forgets that the moment that you step onto a job site or accept a job, that the client gets a vote, the weather gets a vote, the vendors get a vote, the other contractors get a vote. How you feel that day gets a vote. How your team feels that day gets a vote. There's all of these other factors that can impact your performance that day. And there are a lot of variables that you cannot control. And I think that a lot of times people will allow those factors to impact them, and then they spend more time complaining about doing the work as opposed to just doing the work.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, it sucks. Yeah, I know it's raining. I mean, I think anybody that really is in the GSD MF club, right? Like the real fucking pipe hitters, we've all been in the worst climate situations that you can possibly think of, and we've pushed through.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that percentage is pretty small. I think a lot of people stop at the gate and wait for a better day, a better customer, a better opportunity, and they spend 20 years standing at the gate.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I thought this would be easier. Why would you think that?
Yeah. I think recognizing that point is really important, because I fall, like, I still have, it still creeps in on me. It's like, yeah, okay, I could go out of my way and inconvenience myself and like skip this and get this job done. Or I could just like push it off another day or two and it's like not a big deal. But then like you need to remember, like, no, you need to get that job done. And it's almost like a muscle. Like, if you atrophy it a little bit, you're like, oh man, my shoulder's starting to hurt a little bit. But if you're out there working it out all the time, like, not taking the easy route in your decisions for business, no matter how easy it is to take that decision, you need to go out there and actually make that hard decision. Like, no, I'm going to get up at 4:30 and I'm going to be there on time at 6 a.m. because that's when they wanted me to be. And yes, there is a chance of rain, but you know what? We're going to push through it. It's not that big a deal. Like, it's going to be a one-day job. Just get it out of the way, because it's going to mess up your schedule, for the next 2 weeks, trying to fit it in because you wanted to, complain and be soft about it and reschedule because you didn't want to get out of bed at 4:30. Like, no, you just got to do it sometimes.
Yeah. I'll tell you a ridiculous story. And I am in no way bragging, because it was terrible. We had a big job that we took on, and I thought we could do it in 7 or 8 days. Nothing went right, and everything that went wrong twice, and we just got our ass kicked. And then so we're there a second week, but because we had a schedule to keep, I ended up on this project by myself, and it was not a one-person job, but I ended up by myself. So what was it? Wednesday. Yeah. I got there Wednesday morning, and I'm kind of evaluating, and I was like, I'm going to push through. Like we'd already been working 12 to 16 hour days, but I was like, I must stay here till it's done. No factor. And I went 34 hours straight. And I did not get done. I got beat for 34 hours. So I leave Thursday evening, right? I'll start Wednesday morning. I leave Thursday evening. I eat, shower. I get a solid 8 hours of sleep. So I get there Friday morning, and I'm like, okay, let's rock and roll. 39 hours straight. I left the job. It was terrible. But I was in a position where there was no option. Mm-hmm. I couldn't quit.
Yeah.
I couldn't rearrange the entire schedule and have 3 more people there. Like there was just no fucking option. Or I was going to spend another week there by myself.
Mm.
So it's a ridiculous story. And it took me, it was terrible. It took me a week to recover. It did. It was fucking awful. Cause I was away from, cause one of my businesses is away from home. So I spent like 15 days straight away from home. And when I got home, I walked in and Katie looked at me like I was released prisoner of war. Like I had lost like 15 pounds. My fucking eyes were all sunk in. She was like, oh my God. It's like I made it home,
Eat some food. Yeah. Take a shower.
Damn. Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. But I also think that hard work is, I think hard work is relative and arbitrary at the same time, right? I think a lot of people label work as hard work. There are a lot of people that do, hard things and they do work hard. I also think that a lot of people, they try to compare what they do to what somebody else does, and that qualifies it to be hard work. That's why I think hard work's arbitrary, but it's also relative to getting the job done.
Yeah.
So I don't I'm never impressed when somebody tries to tell me how hard they work. So much so like I'm even hesitant. Like I don't like to talk a lot about all of the shit that we do and that we have going on because I don't ever want to feel braggy about it.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, I don't ever want someone to think that I work harder than them or that I think I'm better or different because I think I work harder than them. I know what I want. I have a very, very, very clear vision and goal of what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what matters. How I get there is arbitrary to what anybody else is doing. It's only relative to what I'm doing. So it doesn't fucking matter to anybody else. Nobody cares anyway.
I hate it when you're in a conversation and you're just sharing a story. And then you've always got that one guy who's got that story who's like, oh, I can top that. I can one up you.
The one upper
story. Yeah. And I mean, we all fall into it sometimes, but there's always that one guy. And, at the end of the day, it's a matter of, did you get the job done? Is the customer happy? And did you move the needle? You know what I mean? And I mean, even did you move the needle? Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just lose money, but 100%. The customer's happy and you got the job done. And that's really, sometimes you just gotta eat it.
Yeah. Well, what needle, right?
Yeah.
There's multiple needles and multiple mm-hmm. gauges in a business, right? Yes, it probably impacted the bottom line. Something that I struggle with, and I have to say this phrase to myself daily, and that's not an exaggeration. We have to measure in specifics and play in averages. And because I will get hung up in the specifics of loss, never in the specifics of a win. So I have to remind myself daily, we have to measure in specifics and play in averages. Yes, we had a bad day or we had a bad job or we had a bad month. We were looking at cash flow reports, the amount of money that we lost in 1 month last year is terrible.
Yeah.
it's terrible. So you can hang up on those losses, or you can pull back and go, on an average, how did we perform?
Mm-hmm.
You have to measure the losses. You have to measure the wins. You have to measure everything in between, but you have to play in averages because you're going to win. You're going to lose. You're going to meddle in the gray. But if you don't have targets, you don't have ways to measure, you don't have systems to manage, you don't have all of these things it takes to develop a functioning, healthy operating business. If you take all of that away and you're just an individual doing a thing, trying to make money, you will be stuck in the loss constantly.
Yep. And you can't focus on that negative all the time. Like, I think that's one of the things about, being a business owner. You have to develop a certain amount of grit to just I'm to I mean, maybe to a fault, a little bit, to the point where I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. We're just going to move on. We're just going to move on from it. And like for a long time, I did that without calculating or figuring out why it went wrong. I'm just like, you know what? That job sucked. We're going to out earn it, and we're going to make it up on the next one. I'm going to work a bunch of extra hours, and it's going to be okay. And that's okay. That's, that's halfway right. That's halfway right. Because if you don't learn from your mistake, then you're just bound to do it again and again. And I did that for years. And, I think that's where your coaching, for people who don't know, like you have coached me in my business. And truly, I'm not just saying this because you're here. Like, you literally like turned my business around with what you didn't do. I did it, but you telling me and guiding me through it literally turned my business around with the problems that I had. And, that's why, looking back and doing job costing and just taking a minute to breathe and figuring things out and be like, okay, well, this is why this went wrong. We're going to note it. And then that way we can, we started a file called learning experiences. And, you might've told me to do this. I don't remember if you did or not, but we had a file, and I would take pictures of all the things that we screwed up, and I would put them in. And this was for training when people first came on. I would say, okay, this is what happened. This is why it happened. And this is what we learned from it. And it was just a 1-page thing. It was a picture. It was the job. It was who, I didn't put who was on it because it didn't really matter. It was just, we chipped this powder coat and we had this problem because we didn't do this. And we need to watch out for that. So that was part of our standard operating procedures of onboarding, was showing people how we screwed up previously and how we fixed it and how we're not going to do it again. So,
so I just had this conversation with my project manager. What is today? Today's Saturday as of this recording. Thursday at the end of the day, I had called my project manager, because when you have systems in place where you can look at cash flow reports and you have your finger on the pulse of the business and you do it consistently, you know when something isn't adding up. And we've been getting our asses kicked on a few jobs. So I called him. I said, hey, got a question. I said, we've lost on a couple jobs. I said, I've got a couple ideas of what I think is going on, of why that is. But I said, where do you think we can be more efficient? And just like anyone, immediately he, got a little bit defensive, and I assured him this wasn't accusational. I said, I'm just looking at the numbers. I know that we've had some jobs that have went on longer. So we had the conversation, and it was awesome because I had kind of an idea of like 2 or maybe 3 things that was a compounding effect of inefficiency. And then he dropped a bomb on me of something that I didn't recognize or didn't even consider. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's huge.
Mm.
So in our conversation, we discovered 4 compounding inefficiencies that was causing us to ultimately end up in a losing streak. So I said, all right, well, I'll order this. I'll get this taken care of. We'll get this set up. This will solve the smallest problem. This is an immediate thing that we can solve. So we went through, and now we're working on solving these problems. But here's what's crazy. And this is something that I had to understand, is we had gotten so busy. We had so much work. We were inefficient. And that's hard to comprehend for a lot of business owners. You're like, well, more work, more revenue, more profit. No, because like a lot of small businesses, we're shorthanded. We need more people. And we're in the process of interviewing and doing all of that. But we had gotten so busy that trying to do all of the work that needed to be done, it caused us to be inefficient across the board on all the work that we were doing. Because we couldn't commit to one thing for a long period of time and see it through. We would do a little bit here and we do a little bit there. We'd have to spend a half day over here. And this was the revelation that I had from him. And I was like, oh my God, that's
drive time.
That's the worst thing. Like,
yeah.
So we had quote unquote too much work. And that's what I meant by, and it wasn't too much work. It was just, we're so busy, we're inefficient. So hiring is one of the solutions that we're working on to fix our inefficiencies. And then the others are all internal, that's completely solvable. Now, what's important about that for people to understand is that I didn't take it upon myself to find out what the problems were and try to solve it. I literally talked to the best person in my company that would not only know what the problems are, that would also tell me the truth and also help me solve it.
Solutions, yeah.
That's the value and importance of being able to have a team and have conversations, because they have to always understand, like your team always has to understand that you want them to win. And for them to win, that means the customer wins.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, this is literally all I see. I'm looking through this tiny periscope right now, and I know that we have this problem that's impacting the business, but help me pull back and see what's going on. So a 60-minute conversation, we identified 4 huge problems that were creating inefficiencies in our business. So guess what? Now we get to focus on solutions.
What were those problems, if you don't mind me asking?
No. So one was truck stock and inventory.
Okay.
So I ordered more racks, more shelving. So one of our vehicles, we have a 16-foot box truck. So, and that was a result of procrastination. Okay. Because we weren't busy at one point, and it's like, all right, well, I don't want to spend a bunch of money racking this thing up and building inventory, but now we've got so much damn work. So procrastination stepped in and got in the way.
Time to do it.
Now we don't have the time to do it. Seriously, it's ridiculous. So
it's funny how that works.
Oh my God. So I said, okay, so truck stock and inventory is one. The big one was the fact that we've got these 3 and 4 day jobs, and they're 2-person jobs, and there's not a single day where 2 people is on the job all day. You got to spend a half a day over here and then they show up, or they spend a half a day on the job and then they got to go somewhere else. And they're constantly split up, and we're dispatching people around. So what we have calculated, and this is the conflict too, because this is where you have to compare man hours versus revenue per day. Did we go over on man hours on the job? Technically, maybe a little bit, but we diluted the daily revenue over double.
Yeah.
Because we weren't able to spend all time. So it's like, yeah, we got the job done and we did it in the man hours, but if it takes us twice as long, that's all that revenue we lost because we had it diluted over those days.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough thing to manage, right? Because what do you do? It's like, well, we have to get the job done and we have all of these other things going on. Second, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, so you say diluted. Do you mean by the additional drive time hours, or do you mean by the time loss that you could be doing other jobs? The
time loss.
Okay.
So if let's just say that, and these are all theoretical numbers, but for simple math, let's just say that you've got a $40,000 project and you plan on being there for 4 days, and you've got 2 guys planned out. So you're planning on $10,000 a day in revenue average. If you end up spreading that out over 8 half days, your man hours is still on point, but now you're at $5,000 a day revenue. And if $5,000 a day revenue doesn't meet your operating expenses, you're losing.
Yep.
Right. So that's what I meant. Like, because we had to break it up in pieces, it diluted the revenue of the additional days that we were there.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Even though we may not have went over on man hours.
I see.
So it's like doing a job part-time, you know. Again, we were doing other things in there, but job specific, we ended up diluting that revenue over too many days.
Mm-hmm.
So third was is ductwork. We took over the business a year ago, and we're still working through some of the operating efficiencies and what we should be doing, should not be doing, what should we be delegating in-house. And full custom fabrication on duct systems is kind of eating our lunch a little bit. Again, because we're so busy, we can't have somebody in the shop all day fabricating.
Yeah.
So we end up piecemealing that part together. So when you take these other pieces, it just drags this project on and on. And then the fourth piece was the being the project manager. He's not been allotted the time necessary to pre-plan a job. So everything that we're doing, because we've got so much work and we're running and gunning, by the time he gets to go plan a job, it's time to do the job. So we end up, the planning process ends up during the project. And that's massively inefficient because nothing's staged, nothing's prepped, nothing's ready. So we have no inventory on the truck. We're probably missing pieces of equipment that we need. So all of these other things that him and that person in that position is responsible for, he's not allotted the time necessary to fulfill those responsibilities because he's hands-on. So those were the four big things that we discovered. So one is truck stock, shelving it up, getting inventory done. Two is pre-planning the job and being able to get ductwork fabricated, because we can outsource that. If we need to outsource it, we have the resources to do so. We can outsource all that and it's done. And the other is manpower, right? Hiring so people can be in the positions that they're designed to be in to manage that efficiency.
I know that was a big problem with me. It was the project management side, because stepping off the tools and becoming a project manager is a tough balance unless you're really intentional about it. Because I found myself I'm just going to do this one quick job because I know I'm going to do it faster than everybody else. And then I get in on it and I do it. And yes, it's done, and it's done the way that I wanted to with the hours, but I could have been more efficient with my time by doing something else. For a long time, I was the one, my job was just to set everybody else up for success. And, to get somebody up, I had a working foreman at the time, and it was difficult had to have him building things, but also looking 1 to 2 steps ahead for everybody else. And just because I can do it doesn't mean everybody else can do it. And if they can do it, they're probably going to start their own business, or they're going to go work for a really big company where they make $180,000 a year. You know what I mean? That's just the reality of it. That's one thing that I really struggled with, was trying to get myself off the tools and being focused on my job of project management, as in quoting and invoicing and doing all the back end stuff, while purposely keeping off the tools. Because sometimes I would leave early, and because I had to go do something, project, I had to go look at a job or something like that. And then the guys see you leaving early at 3:00, and they're like, yo, why are you leaving early? Why aren't you staying till 5:30? But they don't understand, they didn't get the fact that and I didn't feel like I had to tell them all the time that I'm going to go do other work right now. You know what I mean? So that was one of the big things that I had to be very intentional about, was doing that.
I think it's kind of easy for employees to slide into that mindset that if the boss isn't there working next to them, that the boss isn't working. And I remember when I was a hot-headed, immature employee, I thought the same way. and until you get, I think, into a business ownership role or leadership role, and you mature beyond that, you don't really understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, part of that is leadership, and it is cultural, because the raw truth to the employees that think that is, if you think that I've got to be next to you doing your job, I don't need you there to do your job, because I'll do it.
Yeah.
And that's a very arrogant managerial way to approach that situation. The other side of that is, like, we have roles, responsibilities, and expectations for everybody in the company, and they need to know what that is, but they also need to know what everybody's role is in the company, and they need to know what my role is in that company. And, that business, I don't even live over there. I live 3 hours away. I'm there 2 to 3 days a week, but nothing changes when I'm not on site. Because I have amazing people in the right place in the business, and my project manager is responsible for the daily operations. And as a matter of fact, when I'm there right now, I'm literally a low-level technician, like, because we just have the work that needs to be done, and that's the role that I need to fill. Right. And it's terrible for the business because I don't get to focus on operations like I need to, looking forward, developing these other things, supporting the project manager in his role so he can do his job, and supporting the technicians in their role, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do to get it done. But I never fear for a second that if I'm not there, that it's not being handled. Because again, everybody knows that their success doesn't depend on me being there. It depends on the company being successful and them being successful within their role.
How do you convey that to them? How do you convey that to a guy who maybe is letting that negative mindset creep in a little bit? How do you coach them?
I think that's easy. If I've got somebody that's worried about what I'm doing, it's because they don't understand what opportunity is in front of them. If they're not focusing on growing themselves and they're focusing on me, they're looking at the wrong fucking thing. They need to be focusing on the opportunity that's in front of them. How are they? What's the scorecard? What are the KPIs? What is the opportunity in front of them? How are they getting better? If I don't work with them to have that opportunity clearly defined with them and what that growth path and success path looks like, then what are they going to focus on? They're going to be focusing on what everybody else is doing, including me. Well, I ain't got to work hard if the boss isn't here. My role in the company should never directly impact your success in the company. So I have a role to fill, and I will happily sit down with you and try to help you understand what a 30,000 foot view looks like and what is necessary to successfully operate a business. I've got nothing to hide. We will peel back the curtain. We will meet the weird wizard, and I'll show you everything. But I've learned that if anybody is focusing on what somebody else is doing, they don't have a plan for themselves, and there's no goal standing in front of them that they need to get better at. Hope that answers your question.
It does. Maybe we should start the podcast.
Yeah, let's do that. So Kevin, answer me this. How can we take these 40 minutes and how can we structure this where business owners can spend a day with us and learn these things?
Oh, I got the answer.
Kevin, front row with your hand up. What do you got?
The Welding Business Summit. September 11th in Kempton, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
If you haven't heard about it, now you have.
Man, let's so this is what's fun about having two podcasters is neither one of us are ever shy for words,
Not at all.
Not at all. But I tell you what, so just literally a 30-second background on me. I started podcasting in 2020, the Tradesmen Experience, And the first company that I ever worked with was Battleborn Welding in Gardnerville, Nevada. At the time, my brother was a partner. When I started the podcast, Nate was part of the podcast. And since 2020, I've had the good fortune of working with a lot of welding businesses across North America. And it's been such an awesome and fun path and experience for me. You being one of those clients, like you stated earlier, we got to work together. We met at FabTech a few years ago, but what was it? Here just a short time ago, I get a text message from you. We jump on the phone and you go, "Hey, I've got an idea. I've been doing some research. I've been looking around, and what I've discovered is that the welding industry, there's nothing specifically designed to teach and elevate the welding industry as far as business goes. Not just business owners, but people that make decisions, people that impact the bottom line, people that are leading teams, people that are foremen, whatever the case is." And you said, "I would like to put on a summit for welding businesses, and I'd like to partner it with your Fabricator Olympics." And you said, I don't have anything else. I don't know what it looks like. You were the first person I called. I want to know if you're in. And I was like, I don't have any of the details, and I'm in. I'm there. Let's fucking do this. Let's fucking do this. So we've been constructing, the Welding Business Summit on the back end. But that's how we got here. I wanted to share that story because I loved the phone call.
It's funny because, like back to how I was listening to your podcast before we met at FabTech. And I was like, man, this dude is like a heavy hitter. I loved your podcast before I met you guys. And then I saw like this tall, like 6 foot something dude with a bald head across the room with like with a shirt that says it's not a welding podcast. And I'm like, I know those guys. So we hit it off then, and it's been awesome ever since, man.
I agree.
Like, and when like the Fabricator Olympic, we're going on our 4th year with this, and it started out as a fun event for the industry because there was competitions of but they all revolved around welding, or if they did have fabrication in it, it was for students, like Project MFG and this and that. But there's nothing for the actual guys and girls who go out there and get it done. And I wanted it to be like half competition and half fun meetup. And that's what it's been for a while. But, I'm so grateful and honored that people fly across the country for this one day event. Like literally, they fly across the country to come hang out with a bunch of welders in the middle of like BFE, Pennsylvania, and hang out in a field and weld a bunch of stuff. Like it blows my mind just talking about it that people do this. And me and my wife were talking like, how do we just add more value? How do we add more value? And because I have the Welding Business Owners Podcast, I'm kind of like, it's in the name. So I'm kind of like the de facto welding business owner guy. You know what I mean? So how because that's my passion. I live it every day. I've been living it for 11 years. And how do I add more value to these people when they fly across the country? And I get not the same, but there's a pretty consistent thread with a lot of the questions that I get that people ask. And, when through listening to your podcast, I got to a point in my business where I had built it up, I hit my limit, and then it kind of like when I hit my limit, you just kind of like stall out and things just started to fall apart. And I did that 3 or 4 times. And I was just like, I am done. I'm done doing this. Like I obviously, I've had as many as 6 or 7 employees at a time. And then I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Nobody's performing the way I want. My management level, I learned, is 5 people. That's the top of my management. But that's putting it all back on me. And I realize with working with you, it's about making the systems so that it doesn't all come back just on me. And by working with you for like the year or so that we did, the things, it's funny because even though you don't have a welding business, your principles and what you coach people through, it's for any blue collar industry. It really is. And even though you're coming to the Welding Business Summit, you could do this anywhere. So it's not even just like what you teach and what you help people implement is not only welding specific, obviously, because you own an HVAC company. But when looking back at the things that really moved the needle and really like gave me the aha moments in business, they were things that you and I worked on. So when I decided to host this Welding Business Summit, you literally, like, there's nobody I thought about before you. Like, it was like, I need to talk to Josh about this. He would be the perfect fit for this. Just because of what you've done in my business. And I've talked to a bunch of other people who you work with still. And it's just, it was just an obvious factor to just bring you in on this and say, hey, I don't know what this looks like, but I'm doing it. And do you want in?
Hell yeah, I want in. Let's go. I don't know, dude. I've developed this obsession with elevating the skilled trades and driving the standard of what that means. And you know that everything I do revolves around leadership. As goes the leader, so goes the culture. And as goes the culture, so goes the service, the experience, everything that follows. So the principles of the principles that I teach and train and coach is just, nothing is ever deflected, right? It's like, well, that's your team's fault. No, bitch, that's your fault. It's like I've got somebody bad in my company. Well, that's your fault. So, yes, there's a business aspect to it. And I think it's important. Like, I fucking love business. I love business. I love the grind. I love the negotiations. I love strategy. I love tactics. I love team building. I fucking love it. I love it more than I ever enjoyed being a technician. And I had built a pretty good reputation as a technician. But once I learned the concept of business and leadership, like, I fell in love. And now I have just this great opportunity every day to share that with people. I'm a conduit, and I appreciate what you said earlier. You changed your business. You did change your business. We worked together. I was able to give you some information and through conversations and problem solving. But I never try to pretend that I've developed all of this stuff. I've just built a really good conduit for people like me who are knuckle dragging, get shit done motherfuckers that work hard in crazy circumstances and environments every day, and recognize that for the most part in the skilled trades industries, we learned a skill. We learned a craft. We honed that craft. Some were good enough to master that craft, and no one ever taught us. We didn't learn anything else. We didn't learn leadership. We didn't learn business. We didn't learn systems. We didn't learn sales. We didn't learn how to understand financial gauges. And we went out and either started a business or we work for somebody that has a business, and we step onto that battlefield every single day. And most companies are 2 weeks from bankruptcy, and they don't know it because they don't know what they don't know. So we try to not only educate businesses, business owners, business leaders, teams, we try to weaponize them in a way that makes them, their competition doesn't matter, right? I don't care about competition. I don't know if a year and a half you and I ever talked about your competition. I don't care about your competition. No.
I I never care. They're like, oh, like, do you know this company around? I've heard of them. Yeah, yeah, they're cool. They do their thing. You know,
Mhm.
I'm not in competition with them because I sell something different. And
Mhm.
I don't sell. I sell customer service with the side of welding. You
That's
know,
right.
yeah.
That's right. You're in the, you're, I don't care what business you're in. You're in the people business and you are a solutions company. You specialize in a thing. That's it. You have a specialty. That's awesome. You should be a specialist at it. But you're in the people business and you're a solutions company, period. McDonald's is in the people business. Tradesmen Experience is in the people business. The lumber yard is in the people business. And if you don't understand that and understand that you're a solutions company that specializes in a thing, you're going to be so limited on your ability to construct systems and teams and a successful company.
I think that's what um, I kind of I didn't realize this until um I read the E Myth, the entrepreneur
Mhm.
myth, where I really like
Michael
I
Gerber.
was a really good technician. I was really good at what I did. I still am. Um, I was a great welder. I had a bit of an ego and always thought that I could do it better. And whether I was right or wrong, that's to be that's uh up to whoever. But I just it's one of those things where I fell into it because I was good at it and I wanted to go out and start my business, but I never learned the business side of things. And even though I really enjoyed the thought of the business side, like I would listen to, when I was still working in a scrapyard during my day job, I would listen to business books and glorify it. And it was like, oh my gosh, one day I'm going to own a business. And when I went out and did it, like all that theory that I had, I could put into practice, but it was a lot harder to put into practice than I realized. And I did a pretty terrible job at it for a long, long time. And I was one of those guys. I was just like, you know what? We're gonna out earn the problem that we're in right now, and we're gonna keep on moving forward. And we're just gonna keep on moving the ball forward. And then I never sat back and evaluated why that went wrong. Why am I out of money? Why am I struggling to make payroll? Like we have this giant job and I see this like 6-digit figure. I'm like, yeah, that's so much money, but I don't have any money to pay my guys this week. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, where did my money go? Like, it was through sitting down and having somebody look from the outside in who isn't just a somebody who's like, yeah, I'm a business coach, pay me this money and I'll flip this around. You got your teeth kicked in a lot and you still kind of do actually. And so you're no stranger from like you were nowhere near far enough removed to remember what it's like to be in a small business environment. So that's why I trusted you to be my go-to guy to be like, okay, like open up, here's my problem. Like give me some ideas as to what might be wrong and how do I correct them. It made such a gigantic difference in JMW.
Something my buddy Garrett shared with me one day because I was coaching him as well. He said, and again, this I'm sharing this. I hate talking about myself. It always sounds braggy. It's a terrible taste. But to kind of help solidify what you're talking about, he said, I like working with you because you didn't tell me what to think. You taught me how to think.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And I think that was, I thought that was one of the best explanations that's ever been given back to me about my coaching style is I don't tell you what to think and I don't tell you what to do, but teaching you how to think and how to ask questions and how to look at things differently and how to analyze and understand things. That's my approach
Yeah.
to this.
And
So,
that was huge for me because, one of my apprehensions was like, uh, nobody knows your business better than you do. So telling people what they should do it's only surface level because there's so much, is this guy going through a hard time in his life? Is he like, what's going on with this? There's so many other 100 aspects to your problem that, you can only get out and that it's hard to convey unless you live it all the time. So teaching somebody to how to think rather than what to think is, now that you say that, I can look back and see that now. So I'm definitely not the one who told you that, but like it definitely makes sense in a lot of the issues that I had in my business that we talked about. You coach me on like how to work through that rather than like what to do in that instance because there's nobody who knew my business better than I did. So thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And well, it's interesting. I didn't develop that style on purpose. I'm just a student. Like I love to learn. I love constantly. I still binge podcasts and audiobooks and all that kind of stuff. But I honestly don't know why that's my style, but I know that it's what I've learned again is if I'm telling you what to do, that's not repeatable. Right? You can't take that and apply it to the next problem. But
That's a crutch.
it's a crutch. But
You're not healing.
teaching people how to think and how to lead and how to communicate and how to develop systems, like that's repeatable. That's scalable. So,
And one of the things that that I think is going to be hard with this event is there is so much to take in, like to take a saying from you, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Like it's going to be a pretty intense workshop, and it's not going to be like one of those things where people just sit there and take notes and then they go do it on their own.
No, it is not lecture. So, this summit is not designed to be a stand and deliver lecture. I would rather kill myself, right? Like I don't even want to do that as one of the speakers. I don't want to stand on stage and talk from a PowerPoint. Every time I do an event or keynote speak or something, I just remind the audience that the PowerPoint is for me. It's to keep me somewhat on path because I will tangent and I will story tell and I will go off in left field. It's more or less to keep me engaged and on the path that I need. Doesn't mean that there's not valuable information on it, but my point of these types of event is they have to be engaging. I ask questions to the audience. So like our 2-day events that we've done, we use real numbers from the audience in real time. We put it up on the board and we go through their overhead, or we talk about their sales process. One of the last 2-day event that we did in our sales training, I said, all right, I picked somebody from the offense. I said, come up here. And I said, bring one of your proposals, and set him down in front of the classroom. I said, sell me your thing, like right there. Like, let's go. Let's go. And it was really cool. It's obviously terrifying, right? Most people don't like to be up in front of an audience and that kind of thing. And now you're being judged by your peers and everything's going on. And we used that. And occasionally I would pause and I would look at the crowd and go, all right, What did you guys notice from that piece? What did you guys pick up? What was really cool about that is multiple times since that happened, that individual that I pulled up in front of the room is like, I cannot tell you how much better that made me. It was like, that was the best sales training that I've ever been in. It was like, and I use it constantly. So I'm a hands-on, like I'm a tacticianer, right? I've got my business partner, Greg, like Greg's a lot better at high level strategy than I am. I'm a battle axe arena guy. Like I'm a tacticianer. I like to get shit done. I want to know what's going to move the needle. We're going to go fucking kill something and drag it back to the cave kind of thing. So the information and the tools that we'll be giving out in this summit is, this is the promise that I will make people. You're going to come in, you're going to travel on that Thursday. You're going to spend Friday with us in this summit. And it's going to be, you're going to get what I call full benefit. You're going to have more information than you can possibly process or digest in a day, but it's all going to be tangible. You're going to hang out. We're going to hang out afterwards. We're going to do a meet and greet. You're going to be there Saturday for the Fabricator Olympics. We're all going to hang out. When you get back into your role Monday, again, I don't care if you're a business owner, manager, foreman, whatever, you will be able to implement something immediately. That's the promise that I can make, is you're going to walk away with something that isn't going to take days, weeks, or months to implement. You're going to be able to have something tangible that you're going to show up Monday and go, this is going to move the needle.
Heck yeah. And to be clear, you're not pulling rain on people out of the audience, only volunteers. Because if people are like, oh, I'm not going, you're not going to pick apart my business and my flaws.
It is 100% volunteered. We asked, no, and that's a good point, because Greg was like, who wants to share their numbers?
Yeah.
You know, and it was really cool because our very first summit was in Reno, Nevada. And Battleborn Welding was the poster child, right? Because of the podcast. So guess whose numbers we put up? They just
got picked on. Like,
yeah, they got abused. But you know, we do that for several reasons. One is, I think everyone needs to understand that everyone's experiencing the same problems you are. Your business doesn't have any I can't think of the smart word for it, but you're not experiencing any different pain than any other business. I don't care what your industry is. If you're dealing with people and you're dealing with money, you're experiencing the same problems. Period. That's it. I wish it was more complicated than that, but it's not. So, you know, when you look across the aisle and you see a competitor or you see a different industry and you're like, they wouldn't understand. Listen, it's a lot of the same problems. The cool thing about that is the solutions are so malleable to your business. You know, if you've got one employee or 50 employees, the solutions, and this is a thing that I'm really big on, is and we do it in our own business all the time. If we have to implement something, if we have to develop a system, if we're going to change something, my brain now immediately goes, is this repeatable and is this scalable? If not, it's not a good system. And not only not a good system, it's not a good solution. If the solution isn't repeatable and scalable, now it doesn't have to be scalable by 100, but it's at least got to be scalable by 2, because I think one of the misnomers too and misunderstanding of business is they're like, well, when I get to $1 million, I'll have less problems. Or when I get to $10 million, I'll have less problems. Or when I get to 15 people, I'll have less problems. Listen, there are no such thing as no problems in a business. Because as long as you're dealing with money and people, you will always have problems.
Yeah.
Right. But having that ability to train your mind to look at something and go, are we attacking the problem or the symptom? And is the solution or system scalable and repeatable? That right there will change everything about how you develop operations in your business.
I'm getting excited about it now. Just hearing you talk about it.
I am too, dude. I'm so pumped about this event. I'm so fucking pumped. And I'm looking forward to getting to see you. And this will be my first time getting to attend the Fabricator Olympics. I'm really excited about that. Getting to see all these pipe hitters come up and compete. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it.
Dude, me too, man. Me too. So give me a few high-level topics of what you're going to be covering at the Welding Business Summit.
So we're going to kick off with understanding what leadership and business ownership is about. I think that's another misunderstanding that people have in what they're truly committing to when they want that promotion to foreman, or they're going to be superintendent, or they're going to start a business. And it's only a misunderstanding because it's never been spelled to them a different way. Most people hire, and this is kind of a backward tangent, but if I had a welding business, and by the way, I have learned that there's a huge difference between a welder and a fabricator. So I learned that several years ago, because I'm pretty sure someone, I don't remember who, but I was very corrected when I made that mistake. But so let's say I had, 3 fabricators and we were growing and I needed a foreman. What do most people do? They promote their best fabricator to foreman. And the reason that most people do that is because they look at it and go, I want that person to get everybody else to produce the way they produce. So that you promote, and then this individual is given that role, and now they manage people based on their ability to do their job. So I'm going to manage you based on how I would do your job and the result that you create. And that's how we naturally manage people. And it's the worst recipe for growth. It's terrible. That being said, what we also don't teach people is what is the true responsibility of their role in a leadership position. Foreman, superintendent, owner, it doesn't matter. What are you really committing to? What is it that you're really responsible for? So we're going to kick off talking about that concept and about business and what business is, what leadership is. So that's one high level topic. Another, we're going to teach you and give you the tools to understand the financial gauges of your business. Most business owners use their checking account as the success gauge for their business. Listen, it's for years. Yes. Same here. That's why I love Greg Giroux. Greg is a genius on this stuff. That is nothing more than the fuel gauge. And it's only going to get you so far. There's only so many miles that you can drive with that amount of fuel. Mm-hmm. And you're empty. We're going to teach you how to read the dashboard of your business. And not only how to read it, but how to calculate it. How much money do you need to be charging an hour? How much money do you need to be generating on average per day? How much money do you need to be generating per man hour? This is something that fucking breaks my heart when I hear business owners quit simply because they couldn't afford benefits for themselves. I'm like, how can you not afford to pay for your own health insurance? So you close up shop and you take a job just because of benefits. It doesn't make you better. It doesn't grow you. It doesn't challenge you. How do you not afford benefits as a business owner? I'll tell you how, because you have no fucking idea how much it costs to run your business. You don't know what you should be charging. You don't know what jobs you should be doing and jobs you should be saying no to. So we're going to get into that heavy.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yes. It fucking drives me nuts, man. Because it tears me up because they lost for the wrong reasons. They simply lost because they're ignorant, not stupid.
They didn't know.
They just didn't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Man. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to be talking about sales process and customer acquisition, which I love to do because, man, I sell more of high ticket premier options in our business than any other options. And it's only because I don't believe in selling. I believe in education. So we're going to talk about the sales process. how are you setting, this is a little food for thought for people to think of before they get there. How are you helping your customer become successful? From beginning to end, you need to understand what that process is. I get more compliments in the HVAC business. I get more compliments about how we communicate. That is our number one compliment in our business, is because when we hired Sophie, I expressed to her error on the side of over communication. And I have not had one single client say, you guys called me too much. You guys communicated with me too much. I didn't know when you were going to be here. I didn't know who was going to be here. I had no idea what was going on. Not had a single fucking customer say that. Because we step so far over the line of over communication. It's crazy to most people, but it drives the experience.
Yeah.
So understanding the sales process, understanding the communication, understanding identifying the want or need, we're going to dive into that. You're going to understand that. You're going to learn how to set at a table. I don't care if you're working with $100 million general contractor with a big structural steel job and you're dealing with a project manager. I don't care. If you don't understand the want, need, concerns, and pain points of your client, how the fuck can you bid that job properly? And not just bid the job, but how can you solve their problem?
Execute it. Yeah.
You don't know. So those are some of the high level pieces that we're going to dive into. And one of the things that always falls in those categories is team and culture. Team and culture. You may have to go back to work Monday and make some hard decisions, and that's okay. But
you did your job.
You did your job. Yeah. Team and culture, because to me, culture wins every time. Mm-hmm. Culture wins every time. It beats, I had a guy leave recently. I'm not sad that he left. Honestly, he wasn't a high performer, but he took a federal job in a munitions factory. I can't compete with that. I can't compete with the pay. I can't compete with the benefits. I can't compete with the hours.
Yeah.
And I can't compete with the type of work. He's not even doing the same type of work. He just took a job, and I'm like, dude, good for you. Like, seriously, like, he'll retire there, Okay, great. I'm not looking for guys that want to just show up and do what they have to do and retire. No, again, I want fucking monsters being dispatched that want to win, just killers that are like, yeah, we're going to fucking crush this job today.
Yeah. It's like any good team, like any good sports team out there. Like, you want to get out there, you all want to perform well, and you want to win at the end of the day.
Yeah. And what do championship teams do different than everybody else? They don't tolerate low performance. Mm-hmm. You can't have a championship team with poor performers. So true. Your championship team, your success of that company is dictated by the lowest performing person in there. Mm-hmm. Just you can't tolerate it. So we'll dive into that too.
I love it. I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
If they're not convinced as to whether you should or should not be up on stage coaching them, first of all, I don't think they listen to this whole podcast then. And second, where else can they find the stuff that you do?
Yeah. So the Tradesmen Experience podcast, we've had that since 2020. But the coaching, go to bluecollarinsiders.com. And Instagram is at Blue Collar Insiders. That's where most of our traffic is. Instagram is definitely the hub of communication with people. I interact with them. And listen, if you send me a message, I promise I'll respond. There's no VA managing that. It's me. We can talk. Shoot me your questions. I'm always happy to help out. But yeah, so Blue Collar Insiders is Greg and I's coaching business. We married the Tradesmen Experience, which is my company, and his company, True Pros, which is the financial operations and management company. And we brought those together, created Blue Collar Insiders, and we get to teach and coach and lead people on how to better themselves, better their business, better their team, better their profits, better their clients. And it's so fun, dude. Fucking love this shit. So I'm looking forward to it. I got to tell you, I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the summit, to be up on stage and getting to share this. I've got a buddy, he's got a podcast, and I told him in that podcast, I said, I am more comfortable on stage in front of 500 people than I am in a one-to-one conversation. It's true. It's my favorite place to be. My favorite thing to do is public speaking.
Awesome.
I fucking love being on stage and getting to feel the room and the energy, because I'm a dynamic speaker. I think that's why I want people to understand, like, this is still like toned. Like, I'm a dynamic speaker. I'm going to be in your face. I walk around like a circus tiger. You know, I pace a lot. I'm aggressive about stuff because I want you to win. I want you to walk away with a newly sharpened battle axe to go swing it in the fucking face of something and make yourself successful. Like, I'm so passionate about it, and I want people to win so bad, so bad.
Yeah.
It's like, so yeah. So it's, we get pretty fired up there.
Dude, let's get fired up, man. I'm excited, man. I'm so pumped for this.
Me too, brother. Me too.
We got anything else before we wrap this up and land this plane?
I don't think so. I think we've bounced around all the walls that we can. So
I think so, man. I think if people hear this and they still have questions about whether to come or not, I don't think they probably shouldn't come. It's probably not for them. They're probably not at that point yet. It's one of those things where, if you want to make the impact on your business, it's going to be the day where, if you implement even 25% of what you talk about, it's going to seriously move the needle in your business in a positive direction.
Yeah, I want to. One of the things I want to touch on is the barrier to entry for this thing is very attainable. I'll just tell people my 2-day events are $900. Okay. The one-to-one coaching is a few $1,000s, right, to work with us. Our early bird tickets for the summit are $197.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I'm all in. I only share that just to create some perspective, like how awesome but affordable this event is. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're going to get the same shit that we do in our 2-day events. You're going to get the same information that we do in our boot camp, our one-to-one coaching. Like, there's no holds bar for us on this. Like, we're coming in fully geared up, and you chose the price that should let a lot of people in the door that need to be there. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah. I'm excited for it too, man. It's one of those things where, like, if you're a business owner and more than likely you can afford $200 for the day, you know what I mean? And I put it out there that if you don't find $200 worth of value in this, I'm so confident that this is going to blow your mind. That, dude, you know what? If, like, you were sleeping through most of it, but I'll give you your money back. I'll give you double your money back. If you're like, nah, I don't learn anything. I know all this. This is a waste of my day. You know what? Cool. You should, like, I don't want you to pay for it then. You know what I mean? When you're struggling to make payroll and you're trying to just scrape things together and the walls are falling down around you and everything's crumbling down, like, getting people to fork out $200 and then also need to travel and put themselves up in a hotel. And then you need to sell that to your wife, that this is a good idea, that you need to go spend this few $100s when you guys are wondering how you're going to make payroll. I get that. And I've been there, and I feel for those guys. And those are probably the guys who need it the most, like truly. And if we're going to put our money where our mouth is about trying to change the small MISO, the welding business community, and the blue collar trade community in general, it would be disingenuous and it would be hypocritical of us to say, you know what, you're struggling, but you still have to pay us this $200 anyway. So I decided that what we're going to do is that if you're that guy who is out there and you really can't afford to come, and you're like, hey, like, dude, I can't make this happen. We're going to give you an option to be in the room as well. We're going to have a pay what you can option, because we truly believe that this is going to literally change your life. And you're probably the guy who needs to be there the most. And I don't want cost to be a barrier. If you can afford the ticket, buy the ticket. Don't be that guy. Nobody likes that guy who goes in there and is just doing it because he's a cheap ass. Don't be that guy. But if you genuinely need to come and you can't afford it, we're going to have an option for you, because we need you in that room too.
Yeah. Yeah. And pay the ticket, and that will afford us the opportunity to help the next guy get in that can't.
Exactly. Because if you're the guy who can afford it, so we are truly all in this together. And if you can pay the ticket, that helps the other guys who can't pay that. It helps them still come and actually be there at the table to be able to hopefully change their business, which will in turn change their life and their family for hopefully generations to come. So you paying for your ticket is actually a way of you helping the entire community out there and other guys who need it.
Yep. I agree. We, after immediately following the summit, we're going to have a big open Q&A panel where all of us will be up there. We'll be on stage, and we're going to take questions from the crowd. Following that, we're going to all hang out. We're going to have a meet and greet. And I want people to ask the questions. And if you don't want to ask it in front of the crowd, come up to me in the meet and greet. Tell me what's going on. Let's talk through it. I'm there. This thing I have, like, when I'm there, like, I'm committed to you. Like, I'm there to serve you. I'll spend as much time as you want together. I have no problem about that. And we'll talk about business all night long. You and I spent 2 hours in that bar at FabTech that night talking about business, because I want people to win. So I want them to understand that this isn't there's no backstage, there's no closed access, there's no bullshit. Like, you're going to get the speakers, you're going to have a full open live Q&A panel, and we're all going to hang out together after the event. And again, I'll be there for the Fabricator Olympics as well. I'll be hanging out all day watching what's going on.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Josh,
if you're listening to this, guys, you've got to be there. I'm telling you, the welding industry, there is no better event. This is our kickoff event. This is the first Welding Business Summit. Partnering with the Fabricator Olympics is going to be a lot of fun. But if you don't have to be a business owner, if you're any type of influence, impact, or decision maker in a welding business, you need to be at this event, because what you're going to learn, the people that you're going to get to meet, and what we're going to equip you with is immediately going to elevate you. Fucking day one, it's going to make you better.
Yep. 100%. Couldn't have said it any better, man.
I have a script. I wrote it all down. Oh man. No, I'm excited. I appreciate this conversation and what we're going to do for the welding industry. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to see you in September.
All right. I'll see you there.
All right, buddy. Sounds good. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.